we always start our podcast with something a little bit interesting. And how's things going in Cairns today?
It's wet. It's wet. It's wet and sticky. Not too bad, but it's been we've had a long dry spell and it's been broken. It could be the start of the summer storms. Summer storms,
that's interesting. But before we go into the weather, which we might end on a bit of weather talk, because it's always interesting to hear how things are in the land where it's perfect. It is perfect, isn't it?
It's paradise.
It always is perfect. It is paradise. Last week we talked about 3 of your influences. One was a high school teacher, one was a university teacher, and one was an academic that's making headlines all over the place. The first one, the high school teacher, Philip Ward.
Philip Ward?
Yep.
He one of the things we talked about with him, or why he was such an influence that stuck with me, is I'll just have a look here. It was Age of Reason, a song by John, not Johnny Farnham, in the 90s, I think it was. There's a picture of him. You can see him there. There's Johnny with his very, very stylish and hairsprayed mullet, which was one of very, very fashionable at the time. So yeah, Mr. Ward, old Philip Ward, he printed this out and we went through it. So is that it there? It's quite, yeah, it was on one page. I do remember it just being from one page. From They Were Born, We're Heading on a Track. Sometimes carrying us forward to a new age. Okay. Now our fathers have gone and we've been left to carry on. What about the Age of Reason?
Yeah, right. Jeez, that's a heavy statement there, isn't it?
It's pretty heavy. What about the world around us? How can we fail to see? So I think maybe, this is one of the things. I was like, what is he talking about? What is he talking about here? So maybe it inspired me to maybe dig a bit deeper into culture, into how the world runs. I mean, I think I was naturally curious, so it could have been preaching to the choir. Perhaps I already had that, but I definitely did go on have a life of learning and exploration and questioning. I think it definitely encouraged me to question how things are and why they are. And it's funny where I maybe went through a bit of a rebellious stage and it's very not natural and normal for teenagers and maybe 20-somethings to just rebel against everything, and just get into subcultures and just rather than assessing why we want to rebel or what we want to do differently. And then now one of the things I'm starting to accept and starting to implement is sometimes you just have to behave a certain way, even if you know that it's hypocrisy or things that you don't agree with. You just have to do it to get along. And if we want to make change, it's incremental and slow. And yes, that's something that's I think as I get older and wiser, dare I say. So anyway, so why can't we be still? Why can't we love each other? Hey, so that's sort of a connection with Imagine from the Beatles, or was that John Lennon? Imagine.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. I had the Imagine. I'm pretty sure I bought the album back in 1980. I was about 9 years old at the time. And the Imagine was the big hit on that one. And the father, his son was Julian Lennon, and there was maybe another Lennon.
Sean rings a bell, but I remember Julian.
Yeah, Julian was the older one. He's Yoko Ono's child. And Sean, I'm not sure if Sean or was Julian. And okay, I'm not sure what the deal is with the Lennons, but the point is he sung songs, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful boy, or whatever, that one. Yeah, so he was big, and he's talking about fathers in that lyrical piece there from John Farnham. So perhaps he's influenced. That'd be interesting to ask John Farnham if he was influenced by John Lennon. Both of them were Johns, not Johnny either.
Not Johnny.
Both John.
Was he ever Johnny Lennon?
That's a good question, but just between me and you, we can refer to the great John Lennon as Johnny from now on. We're going right off topic here for a second, but John Lennon was married to Yoko Ono, or Ono Yoko, as they like to call her here in Japan. And I heard that within their marriage, that Yoko Ono organised John Lennon to have a relationship with a girl that Yoko Ono actually set up, and she picked the partner for him, and they had a relationship for a year. Now I don't know if that sprung any children from that relationship, but they were all in agreement that John was allowed to have a relationship with her, and that would help his artistic nature, because if he was with the one girl for the rest of his life, then that would suppress his ability to be creative. And like, they were both Yoko Ono and John Lennon were both just geniuses of that era, and they both didn't follow the rules of society, which Catholicism tell us we can only have one partner and so on. I
wonder if that went the other way.
Well, yeah. So that was so he's probably influential for both of us as well, because we both have Japanese wives, back, like, John Lennon was probably one of the first commercial people to be able to marry a Japanese or someone from Asia, from a Caucasian Western background.
Trendsetter.
And then so he really did break grounds. And even though, people, like, a lot of people didn't like her because they believed she broke up the Beatles and what have you.
Yeah, they didn't like to. Did hear about that. She wasn't well received by the other band members for I don't know why. I haven't really investigated.
So going back to John Farnham and the song, was there a particular lyric with there a particular line or part within the lyrics? Is there a part that really jumped out for you? Because I think why can't we why can't we love each other or something? There was a line I just heard in there. Let me just see.
I'd say, so the first stanza here talking about how we're going down the track, and that's future, and we go forward, and I guess that says to me, we're evolving, and then the second verse, how can we fail to see? How can we fail to see now? Far as we go left, where we left to carry on. What about the age of reason? So I think he might have talked about the Enlightenment. I think he might have got into that sort of relatively modern history, which I hadn't done much history at all at high school. So that was interesting. Going, okay. So we had. I wish I could remember what he said, but yeah. And I mean, when was this? So this was around about the first Iraq invasion with George Bush Senior. So it was the first time in my lifetime when we were at war. Australia had gone to war, and it was like, okay, we're invading another country. What the, you know what I mean? That was a brand new concept to me. So that was, had we? No, sorry. No, we hadn't. No, sorry, that was to come. That's interesting. That was to come. But I guess maybe Tiananmen Square had happened.
Well, the big thing when I was in high school, which I think I might be 1 or 2 years ahead of you, was the Cold War, and we were taught that was never going to end, that was a stalemate, that nobody, there was no end to that. There's never going to end. That's what we were told, and Gorbachev, of course, won the Nobel Peace Prize and turned everyone on its head. That was so. In 1988, I was told that would never end, and then in 1989. I think it was 88, it was like around that period anyway.
89 is when the wall came down. So that's interesting. Okay. It sounds like a Wall Street stockbroker in 2007 saying, no dramas, sweet. Maybe right now. No, that was interesting. Sorry, I remember 2007, infamously, Gordon Brown, I think he was the Prime Minister of England at the time, said, boom and bust is over. We've got it all sorted, this whole economics thing. That we've got different algorithms, and we have this under control forevermore, prosperity, no dramas. One of the biggest crashes ever followed that statement.
Yeah, right. That's that's, God, the pressure that must be on those guys who are making these calls. And then how guilty would they feel that they're on, do you know what I mean? Like they can be quoted back. Hey, guess what? I was wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like it's wrong. You know, I'm sure that, you know, like coaches, you don't, you know, when they do like interviews after a game,
Yep.
generally, I've never seen a coach say, do you know what? I had all these ideas. I went to bed. I was feeling good about myself. I came in, told the team about all these ideas that I had, and guess what? Fell on my face. Never going to do that again. I'm not sure I'm going to get a contract next year, and if they do sack me, I totally understand. I've never heard a coach say that. I'd love to hear a coach say that, and then, you know, like, and then say, look, if anyone wants to take me on next year, because I don't think I'm going to last, but, you know, just know that, hey, I've really done some bad moves here. And guess what? I said to this 18-year-old, I know I shouldn't have said this to him, but I called him everything under the sun, questioned his ability, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get traded next year because he's lost all of his confidence. Anyway, I'll be available to coach, and my goal price is probably going to be a bit under the regular mark. But, you know, I reckon I could get us over the line.
Market price is here, but all nearest offer, you know, open. My Twitter handle is.
I tell you what,
I'm not sure how long my email is going to work at fremantlefootballclub.com.au.
Yeah.
So hit me on Twitter.
Yeah. Which tonight we will be talking a lot of footy tonight, which I look forward to having Ross with us tonight, and he'll bring a certain element of his seriousness with his twist of wittism.
Twist of
He will have a twist of everything that's with Ross tonight, and I'm sure there'll probably be a glass of. What's this WW3 that he's been talking about? Because I'm just thinking, is this World War III? What is this?
Sorry. It's we three. Actually, I don't think we're allowed to talk about that. We'll let him bring it up. You can bring it up with him. But well, stay tuned, folks.
Okay. Well, we may talk about beverages. Yeah, we may talk about beverages and so on. I got to tell you, there's a lot of beverages out there which we've all sampled. But before we do, let's go on to the next guy who was your.
Can I just keep going through this? So that was like. Okay,
sorry. Yeah.
Evolution. Please. We've got evolution here. We just have to keep moving forward, and now it's our responsibility. Now our fathers have gone. I think that maybe hit me as well. We've been left to carry on. What about the age of reason? Okay, what does that mean? Have we lost our reasoning? So yeah, this was before the invasion of Iraq. I wasn't at high school when that happened, the first one. I remember that shaking me too. I was in Port Douglas on holidays. I was living in Brisbane, and I remember that day. It was rainy. It was in this that was quite ironic. I was in this idyllic place right down from 4 Mile Beach, one of the most beautiful beaches in the world I've been to. And it was on TV, and here's George Bush Sr. going, yep, Saddam coming after Saddam. And I remember thinking fear or weirdness. And then well, here we are in this beautiful place, this beautiful paradise, and we're at war. And it was that juxtaposition of fearfulness, but also beauty and peacefulness at the same time. So that's interesting. That sticks with me. But when I got this, yep.
Do you think if George Bush Sr. had said, do you know what, we would like to negotiate with Saddam Hussein, and we'd like to get our team of brilliant minds together to come and with the age of reason, to come to an agreement and to find a place where we can both live in peace, Do you think if he had have used different language that would have changed the whole perspective on, like thinking in line with John Farnham's lyrics here? Do you think that George Bush was too aggressive in his approach to how he dealt with?
I do think he was too aggressive, but also I think that this is what I heard. Interesting you bring that up. Is Bill Hicks? Bill Hicks, one of maybe my favourite comedian of all time, who died soon after the invasion in the mid-90s. He had a bit in his act used to saying that that George Bush Sr., which I didn't know this, was painted in the press or some elements of the press as a wimp president. Remember, he's a Republican from the GOP. Like, they're generally the ones that are scary compared to the Bill Clintons and the Barack Obamas of the Democrat Party. Wimp president was how some had described him. And then that happened. So I think that's the problem. I mean, we've seen with Margaret Thatcher and other female leaders. I'm pretty sure I was talking to a colleague of mine about this around Julia Gillard, how, she was talking about how Julia was judged on what she wore. That there was those kind of things that we just don't really talk about with male politicians, but with her. So that's what makes it difficult, I think, in the political sphere, or just in culture, in Australian culture, and maybe Western culture, and maybe all cultures in general, where when the female leader gets in, it's an easy target to go, she's a woman, she's soft. So then you get the overcompensation there. And I think this happened with George Bush Sr. If Bill Hicks is correct in what he was saying, there, because he was, he came out very, very strong. But to answer your question, I think that their hands are tied right now. Unfortunately, I think hopefully that's the future of politics. Before we become fathers who have gone, to quote Johnny Farnham here, our generation, hopefully we can have discourse like that in a public sphere. Because I'm sure behind closed doors, when there's no microphones or press or cameras there, I'm sure they talk very civilly to each other, especially at times, especially with diplomats. But when it comes out, they have to be seen as presidential. They have to be seen as a strong leader. Otherwise, you can kiss the next re-election goodbye. Exactly what you're talking about with that football coach. Geez, I made some errors and blunders, and I just got this rookie of the year, and I've blown him, so he'll probably trade it. And like, if you talk like that, I mean, that's going way too far. But if you talk frankly like that, it can be the end of your career. So it'll be great if we can have more truth and honesty, and people don't get punished in one of the worst ways, which is taking away your livelihood, which is unemployment is a really big, stressful thing for anyone, but especially men, but for anybody. If you Jordan Peterson, we spoke about him last week, he talks about that. He's got you really have to consider, if someone loses their job, it's really tough to fit in. And to have any, it hits you on so many different levels. So, yeah. Anyway, so going on to the third step. You got something you want to add?
Yeah. Just like you often see prime ministers after they've retired. Yeah. They speak differently, don't they? Sound differently. When you hear Tony Blair now, he's not doing his like, the thing is, he's more doing the, this is life after. This is life after being the prime minister. I'm a guy. I'm a guy again. Do you know what I mean? I'm not I'm not a position. And your whole outlook on what you talk about, how you look at yourself. I'd like to ask Ross about this tonight, because we were talking about it just briefly this morning about working with your dad. And and he just mentioned that it's, your father's there. So maybe we can talk about that later when Ross is around. Yeah. And did you ever work with your dad, by the way? Did you ever work for your dad?
I was too young when he had his business to work there. Yeah. But I did help him with his newsletters. He did when he was first, he was the editor of editor and committee member of the Pritikin Association, which was Pritikin Diet was form the basis of our current food pyramid, or the one that's until recently has been altered a little bit, which was lots of carbs, low fat, low sugar, low salt, basically rabbit food, and actually now has been shown to perhaps promote cancer. Anyway, but he was big into that. Yeah, because of the carb. Like it was like as much pasta as you want, as much bread as you want, as much carbs as you want. Just don't cut down on the sugar. Complex carbohydrates. So it wasn't terrible. It was lots of fruit. It was a lot of fruit and veggies, but it was smash the grains and those kind of staples, as it were, the white carbs, and that produces glucose now, and glucose. Cancer needs glucose, so it's been really interesting. So he was right into that. His nutrition journey started at Atkins, I think, maybe something before that. But he tried a few, and he really bought into this pretty high carb, low saturated fat, low meat, low salt, sugar diet for a while. And unfortunately, me and my sister had to eat a lot of that for a long time. Thank God, I actually liked going to boarding school. I couldn't wait to get back to boarding school food. So that's how. No, I'm only gagging, Dad. It was good stuff. Not that he's going to be watching this, but if he does, anyway. How did I get on the diet? Oh yeah, predicate session. So I helped him fold up the newsletters and stuff them in envelopes, and I hated it. And
I don't blame you for not liking that. Nobody likes doing the what are they called? Are they called the Girl Friday? Isn't that Girl Friday work? Yeah. Is that Boy Friday if it's a boy? You do the envelopes.
No, it's you nowadays. We have to go. With the gender neutral boy person Friday.
Okay. I remember doing letters one time, and I did the lick, and I remember I kind of cut my tongue.
Oh, how good! Oh, yes.
I mean, the paper cut on my tongue. And I remember thinking, look, I've got paper cuts on my fingers, paper cuts on my tongue. I was like, who wants to work? I'm just staying at school. I don't want to go to work. And anyhow, let's move on to
I had that same feeling when I left, because I didn't matriculate, and I was like, I'll just go out and work and do something. And then I was like, I've got to go to uni. I don't know what I'm going to do. I do the same thing. Yeah. Lucky I got into uni. So, I helped him with that. And then I did the thing, just quickly, a quick story. I did a thing where I did it badly. I didn't do the folding right, and it was all dodgy. And I was thinking...
you folded letters with crunchy... Right. Yeah, did you do crunchy letter folds?
I did a poor one. And he's like, are you doing it purposely bad to see... if I'll just go, oh, fuck, he's hopeless, I'm not going to ask him to do it. And he just was, and I went, whoa. Oh, that's the last time I'll try and pull the walls over Dad's eyes, because he was straight onto me. You know what I mean? You know when you're a teenager,
really?
I'll try this. And then he won't know. He'll get it. Yeah. You did this. Did you do that? And I'm like, fuck, okay. Fold, stuff. Anyway. Yeah. It was a good lesson. It was a good lesson to learn.
Do you know, for anyone that's going to do a Person Friday job, let me tell you, do not just put the paper in. Make sure it's like origami. Take pride in everything that you do, because when people pull out the letter, when they pull out the information, if it's crappy, if it's packed badly, wow, it's just like,
stuffy envelope.
Stuffy envelope, just throw it away. This is a stuffy envelope. But if everything's packaged really well, and like if you have to write, if you get an opportunity to write Christmas cards, which nobody does anymore, I highly recommend to print it well. There was a friend of ours in Kyoto, James Garrard in Kyoto. He's good bloke. He was he was in a relationship, and his partner would write really well, and she did a job, and she wrote like everybody's, because they call nengacho here in Japan, and every year they send New Year's cards
Yep.
with normally with your kids, or with something about, like what you did that year, and it's kind of like Happy New Year cards, and it's handwritten. Most of the time it's handwritten. So people pay somebody like, James's friend to handwrite it. And so they would have like 200 handwritten, and they would make sure every single character, because it's all in Japanese, was just written with incredible penmanship, with detail on every single stroke. So that's just something to keep in mind. Person Fridays, do your job well. And if you do, that could translate into when you start your business when you're older, you've got the grounding. And people will see, wow, Person Friday, they've got some talent. And when you're at your job, if you're good at doing like the notice board at the front of a restaurant, or the letterheads or something, whatever you're doing, the people who work at that company will give you more responsibility, and you'll develop your skills. So you won't be just a Person Friday, you'll be somebody of actual real value to that company. And you may find you'll get other opportunities and that will set you up. That'll translate into when you go to university, you've been in business, you've been in the office, you've done work in the office, and you've been treated with respect. So when you go back into the university room and everybody's pretending to be adults, and they're all 18 years old, and they're all Person Fridays all in one room, then you're going to be kind of like that little bit level up.
Yep.
And everyone's going to speak to you with just that little bit more respect, and you may start taking notes a little bit differently. You may have a different relationship, because the teacher that you'll have that's looking over at the students in the classroom, they're looking at you thinking, wow, this guy, he's got it on. I'm going to give him a good mark. That's one thing. And I'm also going to answer his questions. This is a massive thing now. I'm going to answer his questions with some thought, where the person who's just saying whatever's on their mind, like, oh, can I go to the toilet? Can I get a drink? Are we allowed to leave 5 minutes early? The teacher looks at them like, oh God, just go. And then if they ask a question, if it's a reasonable one, they're not getting that. They're not getting that good information. But the kid who just seems to be taking just that nice note in class and just asking just a reasonable question, the teacher will give them really good answers and really spend some time nurturing their development. So that's a massive thing. And I'll tell you that from being a teacher for over 16 years. Everybody in the classroom does not get the same treatment. It just doesn't happen. We're not robots. Teachers are not robots. They're treating students. It's a little bit of give and take. If you're serious, if they're absorbing what you're telling them, then your heart goes out to teaching. This is what you do. This is your profession. You can't expect someone to treat students the same. It's just not going to happen. It's not realistic. And if you can make the most of those jobs, like the Person Friday job, that will translate into your education, into all areas of life, into your relationship with your students, with your classmates, your peers, and eventually, you can work it out from there.
I got the same advice as I think a 13 or 14-year-old doing work experience. And it came from, I was in the shop of a electronics business, and I had to drill holes using like drills going down into metal plates or something. And the foreman, or the boss of the shop, he said I didn't do it well. But I was trying to. I remember at the time I wasn't trying to do what I did with Dad with the Person Friday stuff and envelopes. I was having a crack. And he said to me, he goes, look, you're probably not going to do this job. You're going to be up in the office. Like, he goes, it doesn't matter what you're doing, just do it well. Do it well. And so it's interesting you say that. And I think that's really good advice, because no job is beneath anybody. It's easy as a young person to go, I'm better than, and I had that. I get frustrated and go, Just give us a chance. I'll be great if you put me into that position. Especially as a marketer, when I was like, I've got all these great ideas and I'm good at this shit, but it was really hard to get a gig, and having that resentment and that frustration. But like you're saying, if you do whatever you're given to the best of your ability and you try, you stand out. And then I had that same advice, or that same thing I read somewhere, was your value to the business. You'll get paid according to that value. So your salary won't take long. It'll match where you are, your effort and your ability. That it won't take long. And now it makes a lot of sense now that I'm an employer rather than an employee. Definitely, if someone stands out, I'm like, whoa, got to keep them. They're an asset. What can I do for them? If they ask me something, I'm like, oh yeah, sweet. Okay, let's work it out. So another thing I've learned though, or been advised, is don't play favourites. And especially don't in a public sphere, is don't try and be their friend, because that puts them in a strange position with their colleagues, and they don't want friends. If they want to be your friend, they'll let you know. As an employee, let's really leave it up to them to reach out to you. So you really don't want to treat them with favourites or try and be their friend, because they don't want to be. They're here for a job. You're the boss. I'm the boss. So that was not that was a problem with me, but yeah. Now you're saying the same thing with students. How do you mask that, or do you? Because I assume that you'd have to be very diplomatic, even though you love that student and that one, just like you're saying, is just you can go to the toilet. What the fuck, But how do you employ any tactics for that?
Yeah, there's a big thing which teachers do, and let me give you an example. Let's say there's a female student and there's a male student. Just the way you actually communicate with them is probably going to be different. So if you're going to speak to a female student like, "Hi, how are you? Did you have a good weekend? Did you meet your friend?" Like this, and then you see the male student and you say, "G'day, mate. How are you?" Like that. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a little bit different, but because I teach here in Japan, this is actually interesting. A guy said to me, another teacher said to me, "Mate," he said, with guys in the classroom, when you're teaching them, treat them like chicks. He said, this is another teacher's advice. He said, treat them like the way you talk to chicks.
So not the other way. Don't treat the girls like guys. Treat the guys like you would with girls.
Like girls. So you say, when a guy comes in, you don't go, "G'day, mate, how are you?" Like that. Yeah. Okay. You say to him like, "Hi, how are you? How was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend?" Like this. Like normally if you're talking to a guy, you don't talk that way. That's unnatural to talk to a guy that way. But as a teacher, because you're in that position, students, when they see you, they think, "Oh, right, there's not like this going on." Yeah. I can talk to him almost the same way that I talk to. It takes away that thing where there's a difference between the male and female students. And so you speak to them all.
Have you employed that?
Yeah, well, I find myself so I'll do things like, "Bye," to some guy, and I'm like, I would never do that with a guy in the street. Normally if I'm walking down the street and I see a friend, I'd say hi, like this. But in my classroom, if there's a guy, a bunch of guys come in, I might just say, "Hi guys, how are you? Come sit down. Okay, how was your weekend?" Like this, and that's how I'd normally talk to girls. Okay. So that's how I even it up in the classroom.
And that's, you got good outcomes from that?
Yeah, it works really well. Everyone thinks, they sit down, they relax, and then they don't take me on. They don't take me on at all. So it's not like hey, are we going to have something here? Do we have something? Or the pigeon, like walk in with with this sort of stuff. What happens is they go, it's like, do you think you're going to teach me? Like this, I don't get that. I get guys come in and they'll do that, and then they'll sit down and I'll say, "Hi, how are you? Like, how's your weekend?" And they'll go like, "Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's good. How's yours?"
Because you're probably at a calmer state yourself when you employ that, because you're like, there's no ego there's no masculinity thing, and so that would diffuse. I see how that would diffuse it. That's a good advice I've got from the same advisor I think we talked about before, where if someone's stressing out, if someone's losing their shit and you're in the group, just relax yourself. Control your brain breathing and just be calm, and he goes, watch it. They'll come down. You don't have to say a thing. You just keep yourself calm, because it's very easy. I know, especially myself, I'll be like, oh, that person's stressed out, you know, a family member or a good friend. And then, oh, how can we fix it? How can I fix it? You know, especially the male brain is like, we want to fix things. There's something wrong with that person. How can I fix it? How can I fix this problem? You know, that you can relate there. I think that's a big difference between men and women, stereotypically, is men want to fix things and women just want to explore things and stuff. Maybe that's a bit.
It's like a men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That goes into all that sort of stuff, doesn't it? Where the anyway, I actually read that book back in the 90s. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I don't know if you read it, but it's
that's where I learned about the man cave is important.
Yeah, right. The man cave.
The man needs to just withdraw and be in his space and do his men thing, tinker with stuff, and you know, do stuff in that thing and alone. That's fine. Let him go. He needs it. He needs his man cave's time. You know, and often it's a little workshop. Yeah. I mean, my dad, we're talking about how some people are good with their hands, some people aren't. My dad's, I definitely got his talent for fixing things, which, you know, isn't breaking any records. But he had his workshop. He always had the tools and stuff. And, you know, I grew up thinking he was pretty handy on the tools, but he's about as good as me, I'd dare say, which is not great. But, you know, it was good.
Did he teach you how to do that job with the person Friday job? Did he tell you how he wanted to do that? Oh, yeah.
I knew exactly how he wanted it. Exactly. I was guilty as charged, Walshy. I was absolutely Machiavellian in what I was doing there. But I wasn't Machiavellian. It was really dumb. I shouldn't say, sorry, Machiavelli, Nikolai, you and the prince. No, it was just, I was having an absolute crack at thinking, I'll get out of this. I'll be able to go and play with my mates if I do this job really badly. He'll just say, oh, you want to get out of here? And then that whole big plan blew up in my face. No. He was good. He was a good trainer. He taught me how to do it. Because I think also what I did wrong is I started doing them really good at the start, then got sick of it and started doing them really shit. So it was obvious. It was
motivation.
Like, you know, if I'd just been terrible from the beginning, maybe I could have got away with it.
Right.
New Year's. You mentioned New Year's in Japan. I just wanted a bit of a comment if anybody's interested. Hopefully you guys are interested. Japan, New Year's Eve. When I lived there, I noticed it's very similar to our Christmas. How you were saying New Year's Eve cards or New Year's Day cards or whatever with our Christmas cards, and how there's a connection there.
It really is completely different, and that's a good comparison. It is literally like Christmas. It's a family holiday. Families come together and they spend New Year's together, and they have special New Year's food. Often New Year's Eve spent watching television. There's a song contest on television where. And then they may go to a shrine, and there's huge long lines at a shrine, and this is quite interesting. I mean, massive lines to shake the bell and then throw your 10 cents in and do your prayer. Massive lines, and it takes 2 hours to get to the front, right? And I go every year. The place that I go is in Osaka, because I go to Osaka most years to my wife's family's house, and in Toyonaka, it's called. Anyway, the shrine, it's freezing. It's the middle of winter, and lining up with kids, I'm like, nah, I'll give the bell a miss. So I walk, as a family, we walk up to the front with this massive line. We don't bother about the bell. I do a quick clap. I just let him know I'm here. We just popped in to say hello, and we're leaving. And I don't bother about doing the whole process. I say, look, it's not my spiritual venture to actually talk to the kami-sama, which is the god. I don't actually do that, but I go just to let him know that I popped in, said hello, and I think that's that's what happens when you live in Japan. You either follow everything or you just pop in. And I think that's a secret of success. Do you know what it's like? It's like, you know, on Facebook.
Yeah.
Do you know on Facebook? Do you know if somebody's wrote "Happy Birthday, Tony," right? If somebody writes "Happy Birthday, Tony," and then you see somebody you know's wrote "Happy Birthday" to, you know, your friend or whatever, and so you just like that, and then you write in the message, the comments, you write "Happy Birthday," and then so you've entered, you've popped in.
Yeah.
So they've got the message, and you pop in.
Yeah.
So my New Year's is like that. I kind of pop in. It's just a pop-in message to the coming summer.
Do you think that's a lesser of, rather than doing your own post, commenting on someone else's is a pop-in? Yeah, right.
You're a pop-in. So
you're not
my wife, it's not your official message. You've popped in. So they've got their message, and what you've done is you've just said, pop in, kind of like, and do you know who said this to me? My wife, she drives me to work every morning. She said this to me because one of her friends, Ihara-san, it was her birthday yesterday, and I had a post that said "Happy Birthday" with some big picture and message and all this stuff, and I put a comment down, "Happy Birthday," and I do this all the time. And she's saying, "What are you?" She compared that. She compared my pop-in, which she used that term. I saw you popped in to my comment. You popped in. And she said, you were like, you know, in a picture, you know, when someone does this in a picture.
Photo bomb.
The photo bomb. She said, it's not as bad as a photo bomb, but it's basically, it's a pop in like a photo bomb is. When you put a message in Facebook like that, a photo bomb, that's literally, but she called it a pop in.
A pop in? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, crikey, I had something there. The Facebook. Mate, do you ever send private happy birthdays on Facebook? Private.
Do you know, I used to, and I have sent a few private messages, but there's too much pressure on you. When you send a private message, what happens is you have to wait for the person to reply to you, and if they forget to reply, there's an empty feeling within you. It's like, do you know, I sent them a personal message 3 years ago and they didn't get back to me. Wow. But if you just wrote on someone's wall, happy birthday, and they don't get back to you or they don't press like, it's like, oh, it's just another one of their things. It's nothing. Personal message gets private. You have to wait then. I've actually, do you know what? I'm actually going to think about my personal messaging from now on. And because I actually send a personal message to a guy who I kind of knew just to say hello. I wanted to ask, you know, and, you know, I just wanted to ask that, do you have any pictures from such and such? So I just a casual, I thought, you know, it might be a personal message because I really wanted to get some pictures from him, right? You know, when we were young, you know, just have you got any pictures from school, that sort of stuff. And then afterwards, like, there still hasn't been a return. So I'm like, dude, I haven't got my return. It's only been a day, but even now I'm thinking, do you know what? You know, and this is the thing. It was like a sent, seen. You know, you got your sent, seen, no reply. Seen. Oh, you know, it wasn't a heavy question. It was just, have you got any pictures? Do you know, just yes or no, or sorry, mate, I'll get around to it. Anything. Just, mate, good to see you, but no, I could have. Let me get, if I find something, I'll get back to you. Yeah, that's all you need to be like, yeah, sweet, no worries. You know, it's not a heavy question.
Facebook direct message etiquette. So with email, I've heard 24 hours is the etiquette, but sometimes I take a long time. I take a lot more than 24 hours to get back to people. And I do say to them, especially if they're team members or strategic partners, joint venture partners, someone who's really in my team, I say, look, if you want me, hit me up on the DM on Facebook. I'll get back to you faster. Google Hangouts. I don't really use Slack, but other channels, text me. But an email, I might take a bit longer. But yeah, generally, I think they say sort of 24 hours is the etiquette to get back to people. And what do you think it is on Facebook? I
think once you've put seen,
yeah, how
once you've got seen, mate. Hey, mate, you've got 30 minutes. 30 minutes, mate. You've got 30 minutes. Once it's been seen, it's got to be that. It's either got to be a thumb up. It's got to be something. Just that, and I'll get back to you. A thumb up, get back to you.
Enough.
Yeah. you can say thumb up and just, I'll get back to you.
What about just the thumb up?
Just even that, just thumbs up.
Enough.
That's enough.
See,
just
that's a good one.
Acknowledge. If they say seen with no acknowledge, that's slap. That means that's literally kind of, that's like, hey, I'm defensive. You've come and I'm defended that.
That's interesting. The thumb up is enough just to keep the thing going, and it could, and that gives enough satisfaction, dopamine hit. I've been studying about this as the dopamine hits that we get from social. That's interesting. Facebook etiquette. That'll be good to test. I'll do that more now. I won't, because sometimes I'll just sort of, like in that case, for me, a thumbs up is kind of like, well, thanks, man, but I'd asked you a question, or there's more to it. But even if that is something.
That's something. It hasn't been ignored. Because that's the problem. You're worried that, wait a second, he's got the message and he's ignored the message.
Yeah.
And, and this is the thing, right? There's another also, just on the topic of Facebook, which I didn't want to go too heavily into, is sometimes you'll notice that you're not buddies with somebody who you assumed you were buddies with, and you've known each other a long time, and you may have cleared them out. They may have cleared you out. You don't know. It's been, like you've gone through a friendship thing, or you were pissed off one night and you decided to cut some people out or something. I don't know. You trimmed your Facebook members down or whatever you did, and then you notice that you're not friends and you want something from them. So it means you've got to become friends with them again, or you just want to communicate for them for whatever reason. So it means you've got to re-buddy with them. And it's like, wait, did they cut me out of their thing? Because I can't remember. You've got too many things going on. It's so many dynamics.
Facebook is really, I think this is a good example of how much of part of our lives and culture Facebook is. When I talk to clients and stuff, it really, it's something it's a cultural shift. It's a massive cultural shift and a shift in that is big as the printing press. So we're at about 45 minutes. Can we just wrap up? What do you think? We'll just wrap up this segment with the end of Age of Reason, and we'll go again with another segment. So we're sort of, this is what we're doing now. This is inevitable. We have to move forward. This is where we've been left to carry on. What about the Age of Reason? Our fathers are gone. It's up to us now. I think that was what really hit me. Now the fathers are gone. It's up to us to be the wise elders. It's up to us to do the right thing. It's up to, we have a responsibility. I think that's what hit me with that. And then, is kindness an ancient skill buried by our blindness? So that was an interesting thing, how it's not noble, virtuous to be kind. It's the right thing to do. And that's a theme that has come back over and over. And I was really lucky with both of my parents. My mum was a very kind person. My dad is very friendly. He'd be friendly to everyone. It'd be very, very difficult to make him angry. I rarely see my dad get angry, and even to strangers. I remember once, just quick story, we were at the Opera House, or in Sydney. I used to be really fearful of Sydney because of funnel web spiders. I thought they were everywhere. It's a bit like how foreigners look at Australia, that there's so many things that can kill you. Anyway, we're looking, he used to sell fire extinguishers, and he was looking at the fire extinguisher at the ferry thing in Manly or somewhere, and this bloke's come up and go, "What are you doing?" Like, he wasn't a security guard. He was just a normal person. He goes, "Just leave it alone." Like, he was just looking at the fire extinguisher. My dad was. And this guy was really aggressive, and I'm watching him going, "What's going to happen here?" Because I've never seen anybody have a real crack at my dad, and I was quite young. And I remember thinking, "Oh, is Dad going to get him?" That sort of thing as a kid. And he was like, and he said, "Oh, like I used to sell him." "Yeah, I used to sell him. It's just a good model or something." I don't remember. And he's like, "Well, just leave it alone." Oh, he's really having a crack at him. And then Dad had diffused it. And at the time, I think I felt, "Oh, that's a bit weak, Dad. Like, you should stand up for yourself," because that's what we're taught, But he just blew it off. And he didn't. And it was a really, really good example that I've carried through, where if someone's having a crack, sometimes it's not worth it. Most of the time, it's not worth it. It's not worth your energy. And also, like we were talking before, if you calm yourself down, the other person will just give up. I mean, you gave me really good advice about that, a similar thing about not replying to a certain person. If they have a crack at you with an email or a letter or a text or whatever, and with me, because I've been brought up that always reply. Someone, it doesn't matter what they say, always reply. But you were like, don't get into that. Just let that go. And I remember once we got in a blue at a nightclub in Osaka where there was a guy was going the bouncer. It was going a staff member, and all these other staff members were just watching. And I jumped on his back. And I remember later you said, dude, just stay out of it. He goes, of course these guys are getting, 1,000 yen an hour or whatever it was, $10, $15 an hour. They're not going to jump on a dude. It's not their job, and it's definitely not your job. Just stand back and watch it. Where I was like, come on, like I had gotten into, I'd sort of taken it upon myself to perhaps, I thought, I don't think I was really thinking that much, but I just thought, wow, like this is not right. And I've stepped in, just sit back and watch stuff. That was really good advice. So anyway, back to this. Is kindness an ancient skill buried by a blindness? So yeah, definitely that was like, okay.
Well, not in your dad's case then. Your dad had good skills, didn't he? He's got people skills, right?
Very good.
So he handled this. So he handled this guy like, oh, okay, that was his block. Let me just talk normally to the guy.
This guy's energy is coming from a aggressive, fearful, in a way, just he's in a real dense energy level, and dad's sort of, well, I'm not going to, why bring myself down there? Because also, I mean, if you do that, then conflict and violence is not far away, especially two males. It's always there. There's always that. That's the thing Jordan Peterson has taught me, because there's always that in the background of any interaction between two men is this could become violent, because that's socially acceptable. It's illegal, still you can't assault each other, but it's always there, because often when it happens, it doesn't get taken to the police. But with a women it's quite rare that any disagreement or will go to violence. Where he also talks about if a guy knows that the other guy under no circumstances whatsoever would never ever ever be violent, then they lose respect for them. It's like, well, you're not a man. What? Like, I can just do whatever I want to, and you're not gonna have a crack. Then we lose respect for them. So that's an interesting thing I've learned recently. But that's a bit off topic. But yeah, so rather than Dad's going, well, I'm just saying I'm going to engage. I'm not going to engage with this bloke. But he just handled it really, yeah. So it was an interesting deflection through. It's not worth my time.
Yeah.
But also not showing that. That was interesting. Disguising that with not even disguising with just sort of, this is what I do. Nothing.
Yeah. And
just giving him nothing.
And he wasn't guilty of anything either. So he was just looking at a bloody fire extinguisher, and some guy was being irrational. Yeah. That's what it sounds like, doesn't it? So and look, mate, you're just being irrational. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm just looking at this. And if that's a problem for you, well, get over it, mate. That's it. There's no big argument with it. Yeah. That was
subtext. That was interesting. That he just didn't give him anything negative whatsoever, as in, nothing.
Okay.
Because if you do that in that case, the guy's like, you're not taking me seriously, or you know what I mean. It gives them fuel. Where he just gave them nothing. It's a good thing that I've as we're talking about now, carry with me. So, we look behind us, there's a wind blowing to create the age of reason. Okay, so then that was sort of, okay, yes, again, we can do it. Rather than just saying, we've lost that whole age of reason, we've forgotten. No, we can create perhaps a new one. If we consider so much wisdom, so much love, so much we look on the southern seas, and another day, another age of reason. So there's hope. We can change. We can be responsible, and that was what it meant to me.
That's an interesting song. I've never actually looked at the lyrics of that song until this time right now.
Russ Freeman.
And okay. Well, Russ Freeman, got himself an Aussie classic there. Yeah, do a search on him. What did he do in his day, old Russ? He probably wrote a few different songs. Just while you're looking at that, having the wind behind you. Do you know? It's that having the wind behind it. We do have a momentum to be kind. Do you think that we make a choice in not being kind? Do you think naturally we're all kind people, and we make the choice to turn the other way?
I think naturally, yep. I think there's good and evil in everyone. As I think it was in Imagine. No, that was in a Beatles song. There's good and bad in everyone. I think it could have been with Michael Jackson. Anyway, yes, I think we're inherently good and evil to different degrees, and it's like that. You had that two wolves, where the elder's talking to the child. I think it's to the child, and he's saying, "Okay, son, inside you are two wolves. One is love, peace, prosperity, or whatever. All good emotions, let's say, and good virtuous stuff, perhaps. And the other one, fear, resentment, hate, negative ones. And there's a battle between them inside us. These two wolves battling it out. And the kid goes, who's going to win? And he goes, the one that you feed."
Oh,
it's good, isn't it?
That is an absolute beauty, mate. I tell you what, that's one of your absolute rippers. I love that.
I wish I could take credit for it.
That is an absolute ripper, that one. Seriously, I love that one, especially as soon as they wear the three wolves.
That's right. The three wolves. Anyone out there listening? We're thinking of calling it the Three Wolves. This is groundbreaking.
We should have an episode on naming our group, just the process of what we've gone through, all of the recommendations, all of the things, the things that we've spoken about. We could even just go through that, why we come to the point that we've chosen the name we have, just all of the things that happen, because choosing names is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. If you've got kids, you'll understand what I'm saying. If you have a boy, what do you call him? Anyway, we'll talk about that in another episode. Now, Russ Freeman obviously wrote a few different songs. What were that's him there, and he's got a bit of a John Farnham look about him.
You reckon that's him?
I think I've seen him. He was in Hey Hey It's Saturday, wasn't he?
I don't know. This is composer, record producer. So there's a guitar player, jazz composer.
He was also a pianist.
I wonder if you reckon it's the same guy?
Oh, it'd have to be. It's a musician. He's wrote a song for John Farnham, and he was born in 1960. That would put him in the right age group.
So he wrote. Wow. So, okay. Well, please, if anybody's watching this and we've got this wrong, if this is not the Russ Freeman that we're crediting this song with, by John Mullet Farnham, please let us know in the comments below, or reach out to DM us at treewolf.net// I'll have a twist of lemon.com. Sorry, no,
it's an interesting thing. Do you know, it really is an interesting thing, a guy with his guitar. Do you know, if you've got a guitar and you sing a song, you get out and you sing a song to a girl. All right, I've never done it. I've never done this. All right, yeah, but
look at this one,
if you pull your guitar out and say, look, I'm going to sing you a song.
Cop that.
Now, yeah. Now, I tell you what, it's something different. If you say to a girl, look, I've got some keyboards. Let me just pull my keyboards out and sing you a song. I don't know.
What about saxophone? I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, do you know, I don't know. I don't know about the sax. I just...
You're the first person who went, saxophone. There,
just
it.
Yeah, do you know, what it is, do you know, I remember when I was a teenager, let me tell you, I know we should be wrapping this up, but when I was a teenager, there were some things that I forced myself to like, all right? First of all, I tried to like the saxophone. I tried to like it. Like I was like, yeah, the saxophone. But I just couldn't bring myself to enjoying the sax. The other one was, look, you know, the whole Sultans of Swing and the whole, you know, the whole music, Mark Knopfler,
Yep.
you know, like they're great acts, but everyone loved them. But I really didn't like them that much, and I didn't like Hall and Oates that much either.
Hall and Oates.
Yeah, I didn't. I tried to. I really tried to, but I didn't actually really like them that much. And some of the acts that I did like, I tried not to tell anyone. I was like, oh, I can't tell anyone I like this one. I'll just watch it at home. I can't tell anyone about this one.
Which
but,
one?
Geez, I love this one.
Which one did you like but you couldn't say?
Oh, take 2 steps forward, we take 1 step back. We come together because opposites are Paula Abdul. I thought she was really, like, I thought, hey, I like this one on a Sunday morning. I used to get my video there, and I'd have a bit of it. Yeah. I was like, yeah. And I tried to, you know, like things like Mark Knopfler, I was like, oh, I've got to try to like him because everyone else does. And also Nirvana.
Nirvana. Didn't like Nirvana.
I tried to like them. I really tried. I really tried.
Did you buy albums?
No, but
That's
you know, I got in. I tried to get into it. You know, like
sure.
You know,
what on Triple M?
You know, like at clubs and stuff when they would put the dun, 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 and I'd be like, yeah, but it wasn't. I really just in here it wasn't. It was like, yeah.
Did you?
I was like into all the time. I did all that, and I like got right into it. But it wasn't in here. It wasn't this. Do you know what I mean?
It's fake.
It wasn't real.
Fake.
I was just into it because it was like a group of people. It was just the atmosphere that I was into, but it wasn't the actual like, geez, give me this one.
Do you reckon everyone does that as a kid or as a 20-something? I wonder. Anybody didn't do that. Anyway, can we wrap
it up?
We'll wrap it up. When we come back.
When we do come back, because we didn't get on yet. We were just meant to, as an intro, just to come up with your. It was only meant to be an intro, and we actually went off. We went off course a little bit.
Touch on USQ, and then we're doing a call out for my data analysis guy. But,
data analysis guy. And,
okay, so anything...
Pedersen, you didn't mention Pedersen, but we were going to mention Pedersen, and there was also, we were going to talk a little bit about holidays and, you know, different holidays, because it's not just holidays alone. There's holidays with your partner, there's holidays with your mates, there's beer drinking holidays, there's holidays to unwind. So just talking about different things there. As well as, but what we did do, we were going to talk about, you know, advice for an 18-year-old, like
coming up.
Your 18-year-old self. That's going to come up, but we actually did slightly touch on it without calling it out.
Yeah.
We actually did say, do it well. So if you're going to be a person Friday, do it well, and that could lead to a lot of things. And
see you soon.